Our long walk, the human story begins. Human history is a very long and winding road. Our journey started many thousands of years ago. We began as simple beings, living in small groups. Change happened very slowly in those early days. The main goal for our ancestors was simple survival. Life was often difficult and full of dangers. They had to find food and shelter every single day. This was the dawn of the human story on Earth. It was a time of learning and slow adaptation. Then a significant shift occurred in our minds. This is often called the cognitive revolution by historians. Humans started to think in much more complex ways. We developed sophisticated language, a powerful tool. This new ability allowed for better cooperation. We could share detailed information and abstract ideas. It enabled us to form larger, more structured communities. This was a crucial turning point for our species. We began to shape our world more actively. For a very long time, early humans were hunter-gatherers. They moved from place to place, following animals and seasons. Their lives were a continuous search for sustenance. Then some groups began to adopt a new way of life. They started to settle down in one location. They built villages, and later small towns emerged. This transition to settled life was a monumental change. It laid the foundations for future civilizations. Life in settlements brought both new opportunities and new challenges. Humans have always shown a remarkable ability to adapt. Throughout our long history, we have changed our ways of life many times. We learned to live in diverse environments, from icy plains to hot deserts. We invented new tools and developed new techniques for survival. This capacity for adaptation has been key to our species' success. It allowed us not only to survive, but also to thrive and spread. Our story is one of ongoing transformation and innovation. This fundamental trait of adaptability continues to define us. It prepared us for the next great leap in our journey. Fields and factories building early life. A truly profound transformation was the invention of agriculture. Humans discovered how to cultivate plants for food. They also learned to domesticate animals for various uses. This period is known as the agricultural revolution. People gradually stopped their nomadic wandering existence. They began to build permanent homes and villages near their fertile fields. Having a more stable food supply was a significant advantage. This allowed human populations to grow much larger than before. Societies became more complex with this new way of living. Daily life for most people then revolved around farming tasks. The changing seasons dictated the rhythm of work and life. Men, women and children often worked hard in the fields. They plowed the land, planted seeds and harvested the crops. Communities were generally small and very close-knit. People knew their neighbors well and relied on each other. Mutual support was essential for survival and prosperity. This agrarian way of life persisted for many long centuries. Knowledge was passed down from one generation to the next. Much later in history, another great change began industry. This was the start of the Industrial Revolution. New machines were invented, powered by steam and then other sources. Large factories were constructed, mainly in growing cities. Many people left their farms and rural villages behind. They moved to urban centers, hoping to find work in these new factories. Life in the cities changed very rapidly and dramatically. Urban areas often became crowded, noisy, and sometimes unsanitary. This era reshaped society in countless fundamental ways. Work in the early factories was often extremely tough. The hours were very long and the pay was frequently low. The tasks were usually repetitive and physically demanding. This was a stark contrast to the varied work on a farm. New technologies constantly changed methods of production. Goods could be manufactured much faster and in greater quantities. Society was transforming at an unprecedented pace once more. This new industrial age brought both progress and new problems. It set the stage for even more rapid technological advancements. Covered and custom, clothing of the past. In earlier agricultural and industrial societies, clothing was primarily functional. Its most important purpose was to protect people from the environment. It provided warmth during cold winters and cold nights. It shielded individuals from the harsh rays of the sun. Clothes were typically made from natural, locally available materials. Wool from sheep, cotton from plants, and linen from flax were common. These materials were processed by hand or with simple tools. Durability and practicality were far more important than fashion trends. Clothing needed to last for a long time. Modesty was a very significant aspect of clothing in past eras. People generally wore garments that covered most of their bodies. This was heavily influenced by prevailing social customs and religious beliefs. Different types of clothing could also signify a person's social status. A farmer's attire was simple and sturdy, unlike a wealthy merchant's. Styles of dress did not change quickly or dramatically. Practicality remained the overriding concern for most ordinary people. Elaborate or brightly colored clothes were usually reserved for the rich. Simplicity was the norm for the vast majority. The production of clothing was a very laborious and time-consuming process. Large-scale mechanized factories for textiles came much later. For many centuries, families often made their own clothes at home. Spinning raw fibers into thread was a common household chore. Weaving that thread into cloth on a loom also required skill and time. As a result, clothes were considered valuable possessions. They were carefully maintained, mended when torn, and reused. Nothing was discarded lightly. Every scrap of fabric had potential use. This careful approach reflected the effort involved in their creation. The colors used for dyeing clothes were derived from natural sources. Dyes were extracted from various plants, insects, or minerals. The range of available colors was therefore somewhat limited. Achieving bright, vibrant colors was often difficult and expensive. Such colors, if seen, usually indicated wealth or high status. Most people wore clothing in more subdued, earthy tones. The overall appearance of clothing reflected the practical realities of life. It was a world where function dictated form in most aspects. This stands in stark contrast to many modern attitudes towards dress. Screens and styles, today's world and beyond. Now we find ourselves living deep within a digital age. Technology has become an integral part of nearly every aspect of our lives. Smartphones, small yet powerful computers, connect us constantly to the world. We can access vast amounts of information almost instantly. The internet has fundamentally transformed how we communicate with each other. We can interact with people on the other side of the planet easily. The pace of life often feels much faster than ever before. This technological revolution is a very recent yet profound change. It has reshaped our societies in just a few decades. Artificial intelligence, commonly known as AI, is rapidly developing. AI systems are designed to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. It assists us in many diverse fields, from medicine to transportation. AI can analyze complex data, drive cars, or help diagnose illnesses. It learns and improves from the vast quantities of data it processes. AI is becoming increasingly common in our daily tools and services. It is changing the nature of work and many industries. We are still in the early stages of understanding its full impact. It represents a powerful new force for transformation. Modern fashion presents a vastly different picture from the past. There is an incredible diversity of styles available for clothing. New trends can emerge and spread globally with astonishing speed. Social media platforms play a significant role in popularizing these trends. Many people use clothing as a form of self-expression and identity. Clothing is now predominantly mass-produced in large automated factories. This often makes it much more affordable to buy new garments. This accessibility is a major change from previous eras. The sheer variety and turnover of styles are unprecedented. Compared to historical norms, today's clothing can often be less modest. Individuals generally have much more freedom in their clothing choices. Personal preference and comfort play a larger role than strict social codes. While function is still important, aesthetics and style often take precedence. The contrast between the simple, practical garments of our ancestors is huge. Our ancestors lived lives deeply connected to the land and physical labor. Technology and information are the driving forces of much of today's change. The future will undoubtedly bring even more surprising developments. Humanity's journey of evolution and adaptation continues unabated.